Welcome. This is the Miracle Magnet podcast, where we share stories of everyday, extraordinary humans realizing great things in their lives. I am your host, Laura McGahey, and I can't wait for you to listen and be inspired by these people who are turning pain points into positives and letting the good ripple out. Come learn and see how you too can be a miracle magnet. Jocelyn Briggs is here with us today to talk all about how she loves to empower others to live their best lives. She is also an extraordinary mama of four who has really taken to heart this concept of life by design. And she's going to show us exactly and tell us all about how she's done it. Jocelyn and I also have a special connection whereby I used to teach her daughter, one of her elder children. And so it's been years in the making, and I'm glad to finally have this chance to speak with Jocelyn and have her share her wisdom with us. She really is quite keen to have us understand the importance of fitness and active lifestyle, and she leads by an example. So she's modeling this in her social media platforms. She also touches on nutrition and our thinking habits, all to empower us to live this wonderful, active and healthy life. So welcome, Jocelyn.
Thank you. So honored to be here.
That's exciting. Sharing good information. I love it. Jocelyn, what would you like our listeners to know about you, just sort of globally, so that they might start to connect with who you are and what you're all about?
I think the most important thing is to sort of actually contradict what you just said. I don't think that I'm really extraordinary. I really am as average as they come. And the reason why I think that's important to know is because often when we look at people who are ahead of us in life or they're achieving in the areas where we want to achieve, we can often think that they have something that we don't. And the truth is, I don't have a university degree, which is something that held me back for years. I have no extraordinary athleticism or, in that regard. I really just think I've learned to become more of a participant in my life versus being a spectator. I'm a mom of four. And I think the other thing that I've learned to help me sort of achieve bigger things in life from an average kind of point of view is just to always be open to learning and expanding my awareness of things that we think are the truth, but really the truth is always really just in our perception of things. So always trying to train myself to take that step back and look at things from another point of view.
Love that, because that in itself is going to help you not get stuck for too long, right? So when you can shift your perspective, it helps you advance a little bit faster, kind of step outside of things. That's wonderful. And I think that's the beauty of this Miracle Magnet podcast. Also, the earlier part of what you were saying is that everyday extraordinary people, we're all the same. At the heart of it, we all have these, similar desires to be seen, to be heard, to be of value, to contribute, and we're all facing similar sort of challenges, whether it be our own sort of self-image or different worries. So I love that we can have you here to say, hey, I'm just a regular person. I had these ideas and I wanted to pursue them, and here I am. So that's wonderful. So let's get into it. So the next question is all about your sort of manifestation. And so I say that that's sort of your lifestyle now, your lifestyle by design. So do you want to share a little bit with us about how you live your life now? Or I guess we could go a little bit before you were an entrepreneur, and what you were doing and how that was impacting your life, and then what was called out of you to make this switch where you're an entrepreneur now.
So interestingly, I think what called me to make the switch initially was really very mechanical, and I sort of got stuck in that for many years, the mechanical piece of trying to move forward in my life until one day I was very fortunate to have a couple of different people come into my life and point out to me or bring out in me that it's really not the mechanical things that move us as forward, right? And so
can you give an example of that?
Yeah. Well, what I mean by mechanical is I was working kind of a traditional trading time for money job at the time. And it was, I was doing actually 3 different jobs. And they were all designed around my desire to stay home with the kids. So I had 4 kids, they were younger at the time. My husband was a shift worker. And so I always looked for things where I could sort of manipulate my hours around both his shifts and the need to be home with the kids. And so that's always been at the forefront of my priorities, is the ability to I guess have control over my time. By the same token, I needed to earn an income. So back then it was very mechanical in terms of, trading time for money. I had an hourly paid job, and, when I didn't work, I didn't get paid. And my kids, as they got older, it sort of evolved to a place where now the hours that I was working was actually directly conflicting with me being around for the kids. So, when they're little, working in the mornings, working in the evenings, working weekends really worked well for us. And then all of a sudden one day, I found that I was missing out on all the good stuff. Like I was missing out on the games. I was missing out on the tournaments. I was missing out on, the activities. I was there to do the functional things like feed them, get them to school, but I was missing out on all the good stuff. And I realized I need more flexibility. And the idea of working remotely kind of came into my head. And at the time, I was doing some personal training, which of course is not remote. I was doing coaching runners and coaching athletes, which did have the potential to be remote. And then I was working at a running store at the time, and then COVID happened. I had actually started another
Yeah, no, that's okay.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to be clear for our listeners though,
Yeah.
Jocelyn, how many years would you say just when you were started noticing that, oh, hey, hang on, I'm missing a little bit on life, like all the fun stuff?
Maybe 3 to 5 years where I started to really resent kind of all of the things that I was doing and really the lifestyle that I was leading at the time, because I felt like now I was actually all the time that I had sacrificed to be home with the kids. Now I was missing out on all the good stuff. My husband was around for all the good stuff. I started to think about, well, like, how could I actually have more time freedom? Time freedom, if I kind of think back, I mean, at the time, I probably saw it as a hindrance that I never finished school, never really started a traditional career. That held me back for all of my life, really, until, probably about 2018, 2019, I think was when kind of the light
Like
bulb
your
went
own
off.
inner self-talk.
Yeah,
Like,
I did not
yeah.
think that I was valuable, really. Like, I just didn't really have any value for anything that I had to offer. And so, when your self image is really important. And you asked me something earlier, and I can't remember what the question was, but I learned to be led by my self image, right? And that was where everything sort of changed for me, is when
Love
I
that.
really clarified, who I was and why I was important and why I had something of value to offer. Because traditionally I had connected that to formal education and formal experience,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's just not true whatsoever. But for years I thought, well, I can't really do anything of value because I sacrificed that time in my life to stay home with my kids. And so this opportunity had kind of come across my path, with a company I'm with now, which allowed me um, to work online, which I had never done. If you're to go and look at my social media now, it would probably be very hard to believe that I was not on social media. I would say 2017, 2018 was when I think I started with that company. I learned all of that, and I learned to open myself up, and I learned to embrace social media and the power that we have globally to
Yeah.
connect with other people
Right.
and
Working with it. Yeah.
serve people. Because at the time, the only people I could reach were people that I could physically see, never really understanding the power of reaching people globally on social media. So that company taught me how to do that. And everything has really changed since, once I opened up my mind to the fact that I actually could be somebody of value in the world.
Ooh, I love that. You've brought out a couple important points
Yeah.
here. And what, like, no, but it's really good because we're hearing through your lens, and I think that's really important because people will see themselves in you. And so Miracle Magnet's all about is really helping to boost our community. But yeah, I liked what you said earlier when there was like these moments where you were recognizing, your own inner self-talk, which was actually blocking you. But there's also like this point too, I find there's often like there's a period of time or a moment, an impact when you're like, okay, no more. I have to shift and pivot. And so that's what I'm hearing from you too in the late 2019 or so, before COVID, and that you had this decision to make. And then once we make the decision and see yourself in a new light, it kind of all, yeah, takes another angle from there. So what are you doing now, Jocelyn? How is your lifestyle now? How did you create this lifestyle by design?
So now, and again, I'd like to say that I'd planned it all along, but it's powerful to look back and think about this little nugget idea that I had years ago, long before I even started with, this company and doing what I'm doing now. I used to compete, and I use compete very loosely. I should say participate in these long distance running events. And I recognize one thing in myself, and I think we actually all have this. It's a matter of whether we're aware of it and whether we're tapping into it. Is, like you said earlier, we are all, very much alike.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, we have differences, nuanced differences, but at the core of us, we're all very much alike. And the key, or the most, I guess, powerful piece of being a human is we are goal seeking organisms, as Bob Proctor says, right? We're goal seeking organisms. And I've always been, I would say, somewhat connected to that, but more so in my, active life, I guess. I don't want to say athletic, because I am not an athlete by the definition of an athlete, but I do love to participate. And what I've always loved about long distance running, I'm an ultra runner, which all that means is I run distances farther than marathons, right? Usually in the trails. What I always loved about that was I had 100% control over the effort that I put in. And, the effort that you put in when it comes to the gym or running or, physical is always rewarded, right? Like, you do this and you get this. And so I was always striving in that area of my life. And back then I had this idea that I could I could see that somehow, even though I wasn't, elite, I wasn't talented, I was not winning, I was never going to be sponsored, I could inspire other people by just kind of sharing what I was doing, so to speak. But I had no idea how to do that. And I had no idea who was going to actually care. But, that seed was there years ago. And I thought, the more I better myself, the more I feel like I can somehow like earn a living from that, but I didn't really know how. And now I find myself in this place where that's exactly what I'm doing, right? Like, as long as I'm working on myself and then willing to share that with others as to like what I'm figuring out that's working for me. I mean, it's evolved tremendously over the years. Like, sometimes it's in reference to making, like money, like as an entrepreneur. Sometimes it's in reference to like how the heck to manage through the perimenopausal years, right? Sometimes it's in reference to like, how to train for, XYZ. Like, it's adapted and changed, but I realize that there is very much an income to be made connected with, something that I innately am drawn to do, which is self-improve and then share, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that because I think people will res that vibration that you're in, that elevated vibration. You're so passionate about it and you're so interested and so have so much information about it that people feel that, and they feel the truth that's coming through you. So I think it's so important, the authenticity of it. That's
It's
fantastic.
powerful, right? Like the
And
energy
that's
that
the law of
we,
attraction, right? Is the vibration that we're in. So you're attracting, you know, based on the
yeah,
vibration that you're holding.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, Jocelyn, you
Oh,
offer like fitness sessions online sometimes, or a lot of fitness videos people can find. There's a bit of nutrition in there. Is it Modere? Like, there's certain things that you're
yep.
working with that sort of create this balanced and healthful lifestyle, help people.
Yeah, it's kind of multifaceted, but to me, it all starts with our nutrition, right? Like, our nutrition really, especially if we're in our midlife years or later, like our nutrition is the foundation for everything. Whether you're looking for success in your career or, with weight loss or with like warding off, aging and illness. Like
Right.
nutrition is so powerful. And so the foundation's there. And so I have like a platform where I teach women how to eat for optimal health, because I feel like anything that you're trying to achieve in life starts with your health. And
Yeah.
so that's a nutrition program. And then I do online fitness classes on my YouTube channel, and that's actually totally free.
Mm.
It's very organic. It's essentially me working out and sharing that with whoever wants to join in with me. I've recently started doing women's hiking retreats, sort of empower women to get out on the trails, get out into nature, have these really epic experiences. I really believe there's a connection between our soul and nature, right? Like, and our confidence and our calm, our health, kind of from more of a like a spiritual level, like is connected to nature. Even kind of teaching women what they can do with their bodies, having no idea that they're that strong and powerful. So that's kind of my more recent thing. And then I'm partnered with Modere, which is a supplements company, a clean living supplements company. And that was kind of the opportunity that I was referencing earlier that taught me all about social media, taught me how to, lead, how to speak to people, how to serve people. And so that's kind of my main sort of source of income, I would say right now, is the Modere platform, and then all these other things that I've partnered with it, so that I have like a complete wellness platform for women.
Exactly. Wellness and toolkit, like lots to dive into.
Yeah.
Super. So later on, I'll link all her details so you can find more information about Jocelyn's offerings if you're interested. So, what routines and habits do you include in your daily life that help you be successful and well and empowered?
Um, so I guess there's three things that I try to be really consistent with. And I think of them as, I love to reference our health as wholeness instead of wellness, because wholeness to me is the physical, like the strength component, the nutrition component, and then the mind, like the stress management component. And one thing, although I haven't been super consistent with this recently, but I can tell the difference when I'm plugged into this or not. I like to spend a few minutes in the morning or at night journaling and reading. So always kind of working on that mindset, because everything starts with the mind. I'm pretty diligent with my nutrition. So I follow kind of a regimen, pretty, I don't want to call it a meal plan, but like I'm very in tune with how nutrition is affecting my body, from inflammation,
Yeah, very
mobility,
intentional.
sleep.
Very intentional.
Yes, yes. And then I'm active every day. So I move my body every day in some way, shape, or form. And what I try to teach women is, if you just kind of touch each of those daily, consistency compounds, right? Like anything that we're doing consistent, bad or good, seriously compounds, right? And so if you can kind of just touch each of those on a daily basis, no matter how small, it could be a 1 minute walk, and it could simply be, hitting extra water that day, right? Or making sure you're getting your protein is one of my big ones, right? A 1 minute walk, it could be a 30-second plank, anything that's just touching those three. And then it could be 5 minutes of mindset work. Like just touch those three things daily in order to be constantly moving forward.
Yeah, I think those are great tips for people to start with, and just really have that wholeness as the forefront of the goal of their intention of their day. Really is to move their bodies, eat well, eat intentionally, and some sort of soul spirit nourishing work. That's fantastic. Were there setbacks along this journey to your entrepreneurship? And if so, yeah, how do you overcome them? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you feel like you want to give up, or
Yeah,
you know.
no, I mean, there's always setbacks. I think one of my favorite concepts that I've learned along the way, and I think it was Bob Proctor that taught me this, was, and I'm not even sure, you probably know what it's called. There's the laws, the universal laws, but the one, I can't remember if it's the law, I can't remember which law it is, but essentially the concept is that there's always equal and opposites. So there's highs and lows in life are always equal and opposite. And so
Law of
anytime I
polarity.
encounter a setback, I know that there's a high coming, right? Because life goes like this. If it doesn't, it goes like this, and I think of it as a flat line, which is, of course, we're dead if we're flatlining. So you're living a dead existence without the highs and lows. And I can't think of
Right.
anything specifically that's there's always ups and downs, but what I try to do when I'm experiencing a low is I always go right to that mindset work because, well, first of all, I try not to attach emotion to it anymore, which it used to really, I used to kind of go down, 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 down and just dwell in it. And I think a lot of us do that, right? But recognizing that lows are just part of the journey and there's always a lesson in the lows, right? Like there's always something that you're supposed to learn from those lows. And those lows are usually setting you up for your next kind of breakthrough, so to speak.
I don't want to portray the image that, life is all just um an easy ride. And so we all face these challenges, but yeah, it's a matter of how we look at them as well, as far as seeing, them as learning opportunities as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it always comes back to like, what is the goal, right? What is your goal? What is your image? And always letting that guide you, right? Like always coming back to that being how you get there is going to constantly change, but like having that destination always remain the same. Never change the goal, just maybe change the process. And so those things that you learn along the way are, I often think of them as redirection. Like they're like, you're not quite on the right path. So it's redirecting you to take a different avenue. And then all of a sudden you turn that corner and you go, this was supposed to happen, right? Like, and so it can be a person you were supposed to meet, or it can be, something you were supposed to actually avoid, right? It could be, I think one of the setbacks I had, just real quickly was physical. And I would say it was looking back, we can always connect the dots to where we got to and think, man, I wouldn't be here if that hadn't happened. I had done some overtraining, under eating, and really kind of got myself in a place of like adrenal fatigue. And honestly, I didn't come out of it until probably about 10 years later, physically, where I felt really strong and healthy again. But the things that it caused me to figure out along the way have, turned me into the person I am today. And I try to teach this to my kids too, that when things don't work out the way you're expecting them to, that doesn't mean they've even gone wrong. They just haven't aligned with what you thought was supposed to happen. But that doesn't necessarily mean that was what was supposed to happen. Whether it's a championship lost, or, you got cut from a team, or you didn't get the job you wanted. We can all look back on our lives and go, thank goodness boyfriend broke up with me, or thank goodness I got fired from that job, or thank goodness I didn't get into that school, right? Because that wouldn't have happened. So it's like through the work of like Bob Proctor and mindset work, you learn that, when your expectations aren't met, really that's all it is. It's just that it didn't line up how you thought it would be, but that doesn't mean there wasn't something better. And that's how I try
Exactly.
to perceive challenges.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's good advice. And I was going to ask you about if there were significant leaders in your life, or, people who inspired you along your journey. So Bob Proctor's name has come up a few times. That
Yeah.
you really, you're really fond of his material and his teachings, which I am as well. Is there anybody else? Modair helped, pave the path a little bit insofar as, yeah, social media and getting your online business going, and any other sort of, yeah,
Um,
people who have inspired your journey?
Kathleen Cameron, she was actually the one who introduced me to Bob Proctor's material. So she actually was with Modair at one point, and so that's where I met her. And then she got involved with the Proctor Gallagher Institute, and I took the Thinking into Results course with her. And then she continues to inspire me to this day in terms of an entrepreneur, and just always opening up that mindset and never accepting kind of what's in front of you physically, always understanding that there's bigger visions that we can't see. In Modair, yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate to have a number of different people inspire me. And then also there's some people in the ultra running world, both doing amazing things in the ultra running world, but also as entrepreneurs in that space. So Candace Burt is one that comes to mind right away. So yeah, there's so many people.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's good. It's like you say, you're always reading and listening before reading and writing, and in the mornings and before bed. So it's probably this, sort of material. Can you share just a little bit now how your life is in terms of how it's changed now that the fact that you do have this time freedom and you are earning, your living, and so how is your life in terms of your feeling about yourself now?
Um, I guess two things. Like one, I feel like I'm living in a place where I have choice, right? So I know now I have the confidence from learning the material and from having the experience going out and trying different things, that if I'm ever in a place where I need to change things, I know that I can. So I feel like choice is just abundant in my life. Yeah, no, so twofold. I feel like learning this material, and understanding, a little bit more about the law of attraction and manifestation, like there's always choices. So if ever I'm in a spot where I find myself, unhappy, or things aren't the way I want, I can always change them. So I think that's a really powerful way to feel. And it gives you the courage to go out and try new things and make mistakes, because like you can always change them. The place I'm in now, I just feel, this enormous sense of gratitude that I've built really a life professionally that is very much in alignment with my passions personally, right? So doing retreats, hiking retreats with women, I mean, I'm able to, take something that I love to do, share it with others, and earn an income, right? And hopefully empower them to do more of that kind of thing in their lives, and connect them to all the things that have really helped me, especially since COVID, right? Like helped me cope, helped me manage, which is just being connected to the outdoors and the trails in the world. So I feel really fortunate that, yeah, like my life right now is in a place of what I would call like harmony, right? Where professionally and personally, I feel very
Beautiful.
harmonious. I love what I do. I don't feel tied down. I don't feel constricted. I'm able to go to all my kids' events. All my kids, they're busy now. They are very busy. So I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I can always move things around to accommodate, um, whatever's happening in my life. But if I ever got to a place where, I need to change it, which it's always evolving, let's be honest, because we're always striving for more. I at least have the awareness that that is a possibility. I don't necessarily know how to do it, but I know it's
Yeah.
out there for me. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And that is the seed for empowering others, is knowing that they have the choice. And
Yes,
so I love how you
we all
kind of started
do.
with that. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's the empowerment, right? So just as we finish here, why should someone be inspired by Jocelyn Briggs? Like if you see somebody, yourself, 15 years ago, why that person, and somebody's, desiring change, they're really not happy. Why would someone, how could someone find in empowerment and inspiration in your story?
I guess back to what we said in the beginning, there's nothing really special about me. I mean, we're all truly very much alike. I would say probably one of my strengths is learning and then turning around and sharing that with others, understanding other people through understanding myself. So I guess that's where I think I've learned, one of my superpowers is, and that's just because I'm always so, I mean, to a fault, actually. I'm definitely an overthinker, but I'm always kind of thinking, well, why did I do that? Or why did I not want to do that? Or why am I feeling resistance there? Or why am I inclined to want that? And then when I can understand myself, I know that everybody else ticks the exact same way. So I just have to sort of share with people what's helping me and how I figured out my own thoughts. And I feel like that helps other people figure out themselves. And that's really what it all boils down to, is like understanding yourself, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah,
um,
I love that.
I'm, yeah, just my ability to maybe communicate to you what you're feeling and thinking, based on my understanding of myself.
Yeah, and that, well, so there, yeah, you're being vulnerable, you're being open. And again, I think I started with leading by example, and that's, not to relate you to Gandhi, but Gandhi's message to the people was to lead by example. And so, in doing so and being open about it, you are inspiring others to do the same, to raise their standards. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a compliment.
Love that. No pressure, no pressure, just Gandhi, but no. Do you, just to finish here, Jocelyn, do you have a do you have a quote that sort of comes to mind that's inspiring, or a motto, something that you say to yourself that to keep persisting, and do the right thing every day?
Yeah, I mean, I live by two mottos, and they are part of my branding. So one is on my hat. I think be boundless. Again, this is funny that I think it was about 15 years ago that I remember sitting down and the agonizing task of naming your business, right? And I went through name after name after name, and I settled on Boundless Pursuits. And that name has grown with me over the years, but has never been unrelevant to what I'm doing. So obviously it was the right name to choose. But Boundless Pursuits is just about removing limits and pursuing, whatever it is that is drawing you, whether it's climbing mountains, doing through hiking, right? Like riding bikes, whatever it is that draws you, like go pursue boundlessly. And so I always said, be boundless in your life and raise the bar. Always be raising the bar, because there is always another level that you can go to. Like you're never done bettering yourself. And so I try to kind of live by those mottos: raise the bar and be boundless. And then, like the quote, like I love quotes. I could list a million quotes, but the concept of the highs and lows is what really, I think, comes to my heart when I think about what leads me through life. Is you got to chase the lows in order to experience the highs. And the highs are always going to be in direct relation to the lows. So be willing to fall, be willing to fail, be willing to suffer, be willing to face adversity, because that's living. Because on the opposite side of those is equal and opposite highs. And that's where the joy comes, and that's where the satisfaction comes. And that's where, like the real life fulfillment comes, is in those highs. But you do not get those without the lows. So don't avoid the lows. Don't avoid the adversity.
Yeah,
When you're in it,
excellent.
know that there's the high around the corner that's going to match that low.
Development of yourself as you go along, that pride and, like you said, satisfaction that you get in working through those challenges. Thank you, Jocelyn, for being a guest on Miracle Magnet Podcast. You are an example of being boundless, of believing in your dreams and bringing those ideas to life. And you are showing us all through your participation that we really can achieve our dreams. So thank you so much. And we hope
Thank you for having
that you
me.
can connect with Jocelyn and some of, connect with some of her content. I'll share the links below. Thank you ever so much for tuning into this recent episode of the Miracle Magnet Podcast, where we aim to inspire everyday people to be extraordinary in their own lives, in their own ways. You can continue this good magnetism by forwarding this podcast episode to a friend whom you think might benefit, or perhaps even share with us your very own miracles.